Thank you, Samantha. Good evening, everyone. I will call this meeting to order at 6:33 p.m. by recognizing the traditional keepers of this land and specifically our neighbors of the Alderville First Nation with a formal territorial acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the municipality of Brighton is located on the Mississauga-Anishinaabeg territory and is the traditional territory of the Mississauga. The Council of the Municipality of Brighton respectfully acknowledges that the Mississauga Nation are the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. I'll also advise that due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, we are using a hybrid model of how people access this meeting. Some members of council are in chambers. One member of council is joining us by Zoom. Some staff are here in the council chambers as well. Members of the public who wish to participate in the statutory public meeting portion of the meeting will be joining us by Zoom. Other members of the public are invited to join us through our YouTube channel. With that, I move to a motion moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Bateman, that the council approve the September 13th, 2021 planning meeting agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Any opposed? The motion's carried. Members of council, please, if you have any declarations of pecuniary interest, please state them and the general nature thereof. And there are none noted. We have no delegations this evening, which takes us to our statutory public meeting. And before I read the motion, I'll read a statement out of the Planning Act, and Mr. Walsh and I have agreed to sit down and perhaps come up with some plainer language for this statement at some point, but for now, it reads like this. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Municipality of Brighton in respect of the proposed plan of subdivision, zoning bylaw amendment, or consent before the approval authority, gives or refuses to give approval to it, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Municipality of Brighton to the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Municipality of Brighton in respect of the proposed plan of subdivision, zoning bylaw amendment, or consent before the approval authority, gives or refuses to give approval of it, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal, unless in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. If you wish to be notified of the decision of the Municipality of Brighton in respect of the proposed plan of subdivision, zoning bylaw amendment, or consent, you must make a written request to the municipal clerk, Candace Doran. With a motion moved by Councillor Bateman, seconded by Councillor Anderson, that council move into the statutory public meeting September 13th, 2021 at 6:37 p.m. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion's carried. We have three items in our statutory public meeting this evening. The closure of a road allowance on Factory Street, a consent application being file number B10-2021, applicant is Claude Sevigny, 894 Whites Road. A consent application file number B04-2021, applicants are Linda Wallace, Mark Wallace, and 952849 Ontario Limited, specifically 103 Lakehurst Street. With regard to the closure of the road allowance of Factory Street, the purpose of the public meeting is to request a decision of council on the closure of the road allowance known as Factory Street, located between Lot 1 on RP number 490 and Lot 13 on Registered Plan number 28. The applicant is IBI Group on behalf of Rosslyn Builders Incorporated. The location is Factory Street, located between Lot 1 on Registered Plan number 490 and Lot 13 on Registered Plan number 28. And Mr. Walsh, by what method and on what date was notice of this consent application given?
To council through the mayor, notice was given by way of an ad in the newspaper. The public notice was for the road allowance closure in compliance with the Municipal Act provisions and Municipal Council's bylaw number 57/2019. And the advertisement was in the Brighton Independent dated August 26, 2021, and a public notice sign was also posted on the property.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. And would you please explain the purpose and reason for the proposed road allowance?
The purpose for the request for the closure of the road allowance is to declare it surplus and to close and then convey a portion of Factory Street road allowance to the abutting owner to provide access to a larger parcel located north of Factory Street for the development of a single detached dwelling.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Madam Clerk, are you aware of any persons present who have questions or comments regarding the proposed consent? I'll ask, okay, if there are agents or applicants present with regard to the Factory Street road allowance closure, could you please make yourselves known? Mr. Phillips, if you'd like to speak, now's your time. If not, we'll carry on.
Carry on, please, Brian. Or you're...
Thanks, Steve. Anyone else that we're aware of? And that's Mr. Phillips' agent. Yeah, so Mr. Phillips just said carry on, so we're going to do that. Are there any questions or comments regarding the proposed consent application from members of council? Councilor LeBlanc.
Through your chair, through planning. I remember this coming in front of council about a year and a half ago. And my question, why is it coming back in front of us? And the second question is, usually when they do this notification, it's a quarter-page ad in the newspaper. And this one was a full-page ad. Is it a new procedure we're going through that we're going to get full-page ads instead of quarter-page ads?
Mr. Walsh.
Through the mayor to council, the ad was adjusted in size by the nature of the content within the ad. So sometimes there's more content and a better key map. Sometimes it just makes it larger. So it just wasn't by way of policy or standard, but just by way of necessity that the ad was somewhat larger. To the first question, the previous consent report for the lot addition for the subject lands that would be benefiting from the road allowance closure. It's one of the attachments to the report, and one of the conditions of the recommended approval of that consent was the closure of this road allowance and its conveyance. So it's really just the applicant finishing off his consent applications as per the direction of council.
Follow up.
Through your chair, is that because the applicant was delayed in getting in or took too long to get his application in? Is that why he came back a second time?
Mr. Walsh.
No, it's kind of like a consent where you have a condition that there be rezoning, and then they, in the future, after they get their provisional consent of approval, they then and only then apply for the zoning and get the zoning started. This is parallel or congruous to that. They got their provisional approval for the lot addition on the condition that they also submit an application for the closure of the road allowance. And so that was, fairly recently submitted.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from members of council? Any final comments from Mr. Phillip or Mr. Tao? Mr. Walsh, do you have any final comments?
No, sir, no further comments.
Does council wish to make a decision at this time on the road allowance closure?
Yes.
That a motion moved by Councillor Tadman, seconded by Councillor Bateman, that the report of the Planning and Development Department dated September 13th, 2021 regarding closure of a portion of a road allowance, Factory Street, located between Lot 1 on registered plan number 490 and Lot 13 on registered plan number 28 be received. The council enact a bylaw to close and declare surplus and convey a portion of the Factory Street road allowance located between Lot 1 on registered plan number 490 and Lot 13 on registered plan 28 as illustrated on 39R 14017. And that council authorized the mayor and the clerk to execute the acknowledgement and direction to register the bylaw. Is there any further discussion? Councillor Tadman.
Thank you. Could I have a recorded vote, please?
You may. Any further questions or comments from members of council? Madam Clerk, a recorded vote has been requested by Councillor Tadman.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Laura Connect,
Yes.
Councillor Ron Anderson,
Yes.
Councillor Mark Bateman,
Yes.
Councillor Doug LeBlanc,
Yes.
Councillor Emily Valley,
Yes.
Mayor Brian Ostrander.
Yes.
And that's carried.
Thank you. That takes us to the 894 Whites Road application. The purpose of this portion of the public meeting is to consider a decision of council regarding a consent application to create one new residential lot filed as B10-2021. The applicant is Claude Sevigny. The location is 894 Whites Road. And Mr. Barry, by what method and on what date was notice of this consent application given?
Public notice of the applications was given in compliance with the Planning Act. Notice of the public meeting was mailed to all landowners within 60 meters of the subject lands, and a public notice sign was also posted on the property.
Thank you, Mr. Barry. And would you please explain the purpose and reason for the proposed consent application and what it would accomplish?
The consent application as proposed would serve to sever the subject lands to create one new residential lot in addition to the retained lands. As proposed, the separate lot would have a lot area of 0.84 hectares, approximately 2.076 acres, with 67.06 meters of frontage on Whites Road. The retained lands will have a lot area of 1.09 hectares, approximately 2.7 acres, with 72 meters of frontage on Whites Road.
Thank you, Mr. Barry. And does the owner, applicant, or agent wish to make any comments this evening?
No, I'm satisfied with the process.
Thank you. Are there any persons present who have questions or comments regarding the proposed application? We're not aware of anyone joining us by Zoom, so speak up if you're there. Are there any questions or comments from members of council? Councillor Bateman.
More just an informational question for planning. The cash in lieu of parkland, is that a figure that changes from one application to another? Because I've seen different amounts. It's just more for my own knowledge.
Mr.
Yes,
Barry?
through you, Mr. Chair. Currently, it's $500 per new lot. So if there's one lot involved, it's $500. We don't charge for lot additions. And then for larger subdivisions, we typically ask for the 5% dedication, which is actual land.
Any other questions or comments from members of council? Does the applicant, owner, or agent wish to make any final comments?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barry, do you have any final comments?
No comments, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Does council wish to make a decision on this consent application? With that, I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc, that the report of the Planning and Development Department dated September 13th, 2021, regarding consent application B10-2021 for the lands located at 894 Whites Road, described as concession 1, part of lot 26, being part 2, on registered plan 39R 13470 is received, and that council grant provisional consent to application B10-2021 subject to the following conditions. Each condition shall be fulfilled no later than 1 year from the date of the mailing of the decision. That cash in lieu of parkland in the amount of $500 be paid to the Municipality of Brighton. Prior to providing a certificate of official for the severed lot created through B10-2021, the manager of capital infrastructure shall indicate satisfaction with the applicant's site servicing and grading plan prepared by a professional engineer or Ontario land surveyor. Prior to providing a certificate of official for the severed lot created through B10-2021, the applicant shall submit a hydrological evaluation and environmental impact study prepared in accordance with the requirements of section 2.1.8 of the provincial policy statement, section 4.2.4 of the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, and section 3.9.10 of the Municipality of Brighton official plan. Prior to providing a certificate of official for the severed lot created through B10-2021, the applicant enters into a development agreement with the municipality to implement the recommendations of the environmental impact study and the addendum to the erosion hazard limits assessment letter report prepared by Geologic Incorporated dated July 13th, 2011. If necessary, minor red line revisions to address the recommendations of the environmental impact study are authorized to be made to the satisfaction of the Director of Planning and Development without further notice or service prior to Council's authorization of the development agreement. An application for an entrance permit is submitted and approved by the municipality. That all taxes on both the severed and retained lots be in compliance with municipal requirements prior to the issuance of a certificate of official. That the owner provides to the municipality a registrable description on a deed conveying the severed lands for use for the issuance of their certificate of official for consent. Geospatial data of the surveyed parcel fabric with respect to the severed and retained lands shall be submitted to the satisfaction of the municipality. And finally, that 3 paper copies and a digital copy of a registrable survey for each of the severed lots and the appropriate deed transfer be prepared and deposited with the municipal clerk within 1 year of the granting of consent. Any further questions from members of council? All those in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion is carried. It takes us to file B04-2021 103 Lakehurst Street. The purpose of this item of the public meeting is to consider a decision of council of the municipality of Brighton regarding a consent application for a lot addition. The file is B04-2021. The applicants are Linda Wallace, Mark Wallace, and 952-849 Ontario Limited. The location is 103 Lakehurst Street and block 49 in the Lakeside Landing subdivision. So Mr. Barry, by what method and on what date was notice of this consent application given?
Public notice of this application was given in compliance with the Planning Act. Notice of the public meeting was mailed to all landowners within 120 meters of the subject lands. A public notice sign was also posted on the property. Electronic notice was also sent to all members of the public who had provided comments at the public meeting held on June 14th, 2021.
Thank you, Mr. Barry. Would you please explain the purpose and reason for the proposed consent application and what it would accomplish?
The purpose of consent application B04-2021 is to provide 103 Lakehurst Street with access to municipal water, municipal sanitary sewer, and gas services. The services will be brought down to 103 Lakehurst Street via Block 48, the stormwater pond block for Lakeside Landing subdivision. Lands to be severed are described as Block 49 in the Lakeside Landing subdivision. The applicant is proposing to sever land area of 109.27 square meters, which is 0.027 acres, to be added to 103 Lakehurst Street.
Thank you, Mr. Barry. Does the owner, applicant, or agent wish to make any comments this evening?
Mr. Whitehead.
Mr. Whitehead, I think.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Brian Whitehead. I'm a senior planner and principal with JP2G Consultants with offices in Pembroke and Ottawa. And I'm joined tonight by Steve Blakey, who's you probably know is the branch manager of the Belleville office of Greer Galloway. It's an affiliated company of ours. And I'm also joined with Brianna Kenny, who's the applicant and works with me here in Pembroke. And she's also a planner and a biologist with trained in planning. So I'd just like to make a few comments. Firstly, I'd like to thank Josh Berry for all the hard work he's done. He's done a very, very good job in dealing with us and dealing with, I believe, dealing with the neighbors and addressing the concerns. And we've done our best to work with the municipality to try and resolve all the concerns in support of this resubmission or this amended application. In its simplest form, this application is just a lot addition to permit servicing to the site at 103 Lakehurst. And we have the application for lot addition is just amended slightly from 9 meters wide to 15 meters. So it's a not very much different from the original application. But there's also been some supporting documentation in terms of engineering sketches and briefs prepared by Mr. Blakey. And we also, as recently today, had received a environmental impact study from Chris Ellingwood, formerly of Niblett Environmental, and I understand those recommendations will be implemented as conditions of consent approval through a development agreement. So we're available to respond to any questions that the council has, but that's all I really have for now.
Thank you, Mr. Whitehead. Do any of your colleagues wish to make any comments, or shall we just carry on? I'm going to carry on.
Carry on.
Are there any persons present who wish to make comments or have questions with regard to the proposed application that you're aware of? Ms. Lambert? No, Madam Clerk, you're not aware of anyone joining us? Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from members of council with regard to the proposed consent? Councillor Bateman.
On page, it's under the agency reports, advisory comments, section 3, the last bullet, where Lower Trent has no concerns with the water quality, quantity perspective. However, they're advising owners that establishing, maintaining a natural vegetative buffer to protect the water course. Is that something that is being done, or have we taken their advice on that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes. So the development agreement that the applicant had spoke to and referred to earlier, we'll be implementing it through the development agreement. So the environmental impact study says a series of recommendations, including maintaining a vegetative buffer and silt fencing to prevent the erosion of that water course feature. So we'll be making the applicant enter into a development agreement to adhere to those conditions.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor LeBlanc. Your microphone, sir.
Page 92, where you have well and septic system impact. Your the one statement, the developer plans for 103 Lakehurst Street is proposed to be serviced by municipal water and septic system.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, that's should say municipal sewer, not municipal septic. That's a typo.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you. And the other one I have is we've approved our lots tonight and previous nights. This is the first time I've seen where we're asking for a development agreement with a developer for a single lot. Is this something that's going to go on in the future, or is it something that normally happens?
Mr. Barry.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have done it in the past. I'm thinking of the one on the one actually we just approved before this one for Claude Sevigny on White's Road. We're also requesting an environmental impact study as per the policies of the growth plan, the PPS. And what it is we just simply take the recommendations from the EIS, entered into a legal agreement to ensure that the recommendations are being adhered to. Sometimes we find that these things fall through the cracks, whereas the development agreement ensures that they're adhered to.
Okay. But the wording between both agreements is different. One, we're asking for the environmental impact and hydrology study. This one, we're asking for development agreement, something like a subdivision agreement. The way I look at it.
They're both referring to the same thing essentially. So there's one condition which asks for the EIS, and then the second condition is development agreement. So it takes the recommendations of that report, and then we enter into a legal agreement to ensure that those recommendations are adhered to. It's not as complex as a site plan agreement. Think of it as a scoped down version of a site plan agreement. It's just simply ensuring that those recommendations are adhered to.
And in the last one we just passed, Councillor LeBlanc, we did ask for a development agreement on that one as well, just by way of information. Any further questions?
No.
Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Josh. I presume a lot of the, I heard it said tonight that a lot of the concerns of the residents have been met or have been addressed. I hope that's true. There was quite a lengthy, and I won't go digging into it, but I know you've been working on it. So that was my concern from the outset. And the other, there's an item on there as well as about sewage and water hookup by the residents on that. And I believe the municipality was to give them an idea of costs. I know what the cost would be burdened. I read about 2/3 of the cost would be at them, but were they given any amounts or any estimates of what it would cost?
Yeah, so two things. I want to tackle your first comment about whether all resident comments have been addressed. As far as they relate to this application, which is the existing lot of record, 103 Lakehurst Street, yes, they've been addressed. We're having the easement go through the back rather than through the right of way. There is a separate application, which is block 49, which is the vacant open space block. That is going to be subject to a revised application and a future public meeting. So I can't say that those have been addressed as that's a separate application. So we will look into that with the residents when that material comes to us. The second item, yes, we did meet with residents, I believe it was last month, to talk about the potential for extension of servicing, as some residents had asked us to look into that. There was a very rough estimate put together by our engineering department of what this would cost. I've told them that that number was purely for discussion purposes. Now, a number of residents have indicated that they would like to proceed with the next step of understanding the cost fully. There was also questions about whether septic and well needs to be maintained or it has to be removed. So we're actually going to be having an internal department meeting to talk about what's involved in that. I understand that this occurred back in 2004, if I'm not mistaken, and there was a process that was followed for that. So I'm going to be speaking with our director of finance to understand who is exactly responsible for the engineering cost estimate and what the next steps are. And I've been in touch with the residents throughout this process and informed them that as soon as we're done those internal discussions with internal departments and the Ministry of Environment, that we will touch base with them and present them real numbers that they can make an informed decision on.
Go ahead.
Just one more. So we are talking about now one large property, new property, one large, it's quite large, and not two like we were initially.
So to be clear, there's always been two properties. There's been 103 Lakehurst Street, which is an existing lot of record. There was an old cottage on it. And then there's the large vacant block, which is referred to as block 49. Today, we are only dealing with, it's an easement. So they're technically severing that block to provide services to 103 Lakehurst Street, but we're not dealing with any development on the block right now, the large piece. That will be subject to a future public meeting for rezoning and consent.
Okay.
I hope that's clear. Yes.
Now, my question was, I think that was a pretty major, one of the major questions was, do we need more housing in that area? The densities, there's enough density based on what the residents feel. And in some cases, it's very true, but I don't see, I like what you've done so far. And I think it's good that you've been able to work it out. And I don't see a lot of objection tonight, so it'll help make a decision. So thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Tadman.
Thank you. Would you just repeat again? Because I'm sure I heard you say that was a registered lot.
Yes,
The one we're discussing tonight.
correct. Yes, we're discussing 103 Lakehurst Street, which was a former cottage, I understand.
Right.
That has existing zoning and existing rights on it. It's just simply an application to service that lot.
So basically, that's what we're going to vote on tonight, to service the lot that was already pre-existing.
Correct. Yes,
Thank you.
that's right.
And by adding that little triangle in
Correct.
red,
Yes,
Right.
that's right.
that's all, that's really what we're doing this evening.
Correct.
Councillor Bateman.
Just a quick question for clarification. Under the public comments that were received, it's the third and fourth one down. It says, what can the municipality do to prevent the owner from building more than one dwelling? And I think that's been answered. But then the next one says, what can the municipality do to prevent or restrict second units? Is that the people were asking the same questions, or are they making reference to second dwellings? Because we can't restrict second dwellings, correct? Because we passed that, so did the province.
Mr. Barry.
Correct. Yes, they are referencing both. So yes, there was some residents were asking, can more than two houses go on this property? The answer to that is yes, an additional unit. I did mention I would speak to our partners at the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing if council did want to entertain doing a site-specific amendment to prohibit additional units on that specific lot. But generally, the direction from the province is additional units shall be permitted on all lots, provided they can meet lower Trent regulations for access and safety. Because the basements would be restricted in this area, obviously, due to floodplain.
Anything further from members of council? Does the owner, applicant, or agent wish to make any final comments?
No, thank you. We're fine.
Thank you, Mr. Whitehead. Mr. Barry, do you have any final comments?
No comments at this time, but I will be keeping residents and council apprised of the other applications for the larger block
And any servicing
and servicing discussions
decisions
as
and
well.
discussions. Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you. Does council wish to make a decision on this consent application this evening? Yeah. You have a question?
No, could we have a recorded vote?
After I read the motion, maybe. And I'll call for discussion first, of course, Councilor LeBlanc. It's moved by Councilor LeBlanc, seconded by Councilor Rowley, that council receives the report regarding consent application B04-2021 as prepared by the Planning and Development Department, and that council grant provisional consent to the application B04-2021, subject to the following conditions. Each condition shall be fulfilled no later than 1 year from the date of the mailing of the decision. That if required, the applicant lay out and dedicate by deed to the municipality of Brighton a strip of land ensuring a minimum of 10 meters from the center line of Lakehurst Street along the frontage of the severed and retained lots, clear of encumbrances, buildings, structures, and fences. Prior to issuing the certificate of official, the manager of capital infrastructure shall indicate satisfaction with the applicant's site servicing and grading plan prepared by a professional engineer. The applicant shall provide a construction management plan to the satisfaction of the municipality of Brighton that addresses all stages of construction, including but not limited to construction access, contractor parking, mud and dust control, excess fill management and erosion and sediment control, etc. The applicant enters into a development agreement to implement the mitigation measures recommended in the environmental impact study completed by Niblett and Associates, including the installation of silt fencing to prevent sedimentation into the wetland and ditch. The applicant shall provide an easement in favor of the municipality over the retained lands that will provide municipal access for the purpose of maintaining drainage from Lakehurst Street through Block 49 to the outlet at Lakeside Landing Subdivision. The applicant shall provide an easement over Block 48. Is that correct?
Yes, it is correct. That's
Thank you.
the stormwater block.
Thank you. In favor of the municipality of Brighton for the installation and maintenance of municipal water and municipal sanitary sewer services. The easement will expire upon conveyance of Block 48 to the municipality of Brighton. An application for an entrance permit is submitted and approved by the municipality of Brighton. The owner provides to the municipality a registrable description on a deed conveying the severed lands for use for the issuance of a certificate of official for consent. The severed parcel is shown to have been legally merged in title together with the consolidation of pins with adjacent parcel addressed as 103 Lakehurst Street. All taxes on both the severed and retained lots be in compliance with the municipal requirements prior to the issuance of a certificate of official. Geospatial data of the surveyed parcel fabric with respect to the severed and retained lands shall be submitted to the satisfaction of the municipality. And three paper copies and a digital copy of a registrable survey for each of the severed lots and the appropriate deed transfer be prepared and deposited with the municipal clerk within 1 year of the granting of consent. Is there any further comment or question from members of council? Councillor Bateman.
I just have a quick question because we actually spoke about it at our accessibility meeting, and just for clarification, for the group mailboxes, once this subdivision is completed, is it the developers, any developer when they do a development, is there a responsibility to pour the concrete slab? Because my understanding is the concrete slabs, when you see those, the developer has put those in, not the municipality, and the older ones are on cement blocks. Because currently where they are, I think they've been moved for the construction, and that's been a recurring issue at our accessibility because they're in a dangerous spot. So I don't know if a location's been picked and who pays for that.
Mr. Barry.
Through you, Mr. Chair, our Director of Public Works will handle that one.
Mr. Parkinson.
Through your worship, the Canadian mailboxes are all their responsibility, the maintenance and access in the wintertime, and then any structures that need to be built to support them. This Canada Post.
They're the responsibility of Canada Post.
Correct.
Yes, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Tadman.
Thank you. And I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, Preston, but they choose the spot also? Or do, yeah, it's under their authority where it goes, not the developer.
That's right.
Right.
Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. Once we make a decision on this one tonight, I'm just wondering how soon will we be dealing with block 49?
Mr. Barry.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So block 49 is dependent on an adjacent landowner, the revised application. I understand that the applicant is currently working with them and we're expecting to receive something shortly. So depending on when I receive it, because I do have to have a 20-day public notice period, it will either be October or the November agenda, depending on when that material is submitted to us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? My only question, I think, is just a definition question. In condition 10, consolidation of pins, PINS, pins.
Yeah, so, well, I think it is property identification number is the acronym.
Survey markers?
No, so if you, like there's a parcel register that accompanies a property, and there's a PIN number that's associated with that. So it's a land titles thing. So usually I have the S as a lowercase because it's number.
It is lowercase here.
It is an acronym, yeah. So I think maybe it should be capitals, but
No,
Mr. Barry is correct.
It
Yeah.
is capitals. It's
Oh, yes.
PIN is capitalized and then
Oh, yeah.
small s.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yes.
I was just wondering what it stood for.
Yeah, sure. So if you go do a title search at the registry office, every parcel has a PIN to identify it, a parcel identification number. And so sometimes there's confusion if those don't get a lot of addition, they don't get consolidated into one number. Because now that would be a parcel with two numbers, and that sometimes on a sale, only one of the pins get conveyed, and then you have a legal problem back to here.
Right. Thank you. Any further questions or comments from members of council? Madam Clerk, a recorded vote has been requested by Councillor LeBlanc.
Councillor Doug LeBlanc,
Yes.
Councillor Emily Rowley,
Yes.
Councillor Mary Tadman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Laura Connect,
Yes.
Councillor Ron Anderson,
Yes.
Councillor Mark Bateman,
Yes.
Mayor Brian Ostrander,
Yes.
and that's carried.
And that is or are all the items in our statutory public meeting. Thank you, everyone, for your help getting us through that and for everyone who attended and provided comments. I have a motion moved by Councillor LeBlanc, seconded by Councillor Rowley. The council move out of the statutory public meeting September 13th, 2021 at 7:11 p.m. Is there any comment or question from members of council? Those in favor? Any opposed? The motion is carried. Takes us into our planning and development reports. First report is with regard to 214 Ontario Street. Mr. Barry, we've read this report. I'll ask if you have anything to add or highlight, but I will ask you to highlight exactly what we're here to discuss this evening, specifically.
Okay. Through you, Mr. Chair. I don't have anything to add right now. Feel free to ask your questions and I can respond accordingly.
So I would only ask, there's some confusion, I think, in the public that we're here to actually make a decision on these lands this evening. So I'll just ask you to sort of in broad strokes detail what we're being asked to consider this evening, specifically the public consultation process.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. So this is it's alternative public engagement strategy, and the purpose is really to receive the comments from the public prior to a complete application being received, to ensure that the public has the ability to shape the concept plan as it's submitted in real time. So what we're looking at tonight is it's a strategy for public consultation, where by no means are we endorsing the development concepts presented herein. It's simply to endorse the public consultation strategy to conduct open houses to receive comments from the public. And what will happen is a notice of pending development application will be provided to members of the public. We have done this for another application, which we were here a month ago for. So there'll be a public notice sign posted on the property. It's a larger sign standard. And the applicant will be sent those details. There'll also be a newspaper notice. It will be a full page ad because there's quite a bit of detail involved with this. And then there'll also be a mail out notice within 120 meters of the subject property. And really the public consultation meeting would be directed and managed by municipal staff to provide the public with an overview of the development application process. And then the applicant will provide an overview of what they're presenting. We will take the comments, staff will record the comments at the public meeting and then report back to council with a summary of our findings and comments. And I've also, you'll see here that I'm also proposing that we do an outdoor community meeting subject to the COVID restrictions that are in place at that time. I find that sometimes that face-to-face interaction with the public is helpful, and it can be trying sometimes with virtual meetings. I found that this worked really well with the previous application we just discussed in public session. So I was hoping that we could do something similar here. I hope that is clear, Mr. Mayor, on what we're doing.
That's what I was looking for. I may need someone to read this motion. I have a Councillor Anderson, will you read that motion for me, please?
Okay, this motion is that council receives the staff report dated September 13th, 2021 regarding a public consultation strategy for proposed development located at 214 or 214 Ontario Street. And that council directs staff to issue a notice of pending development application, including virtual public opinion house details. Notice will be advertised in the Brighton Independent on the municipal website and provided by mail to all landowners within 120 meters of the property. A notice of pending development application will also be posted on the subject lands. The cost of advertising the notice of pending development will be borne by the proponent, and the council directs planning staff to host a virtual public open house meeting prior to receiving a complete application for the purposes of providing the public with notice and proposed development and obtaining public comments. The council directs planning staff to attend an outdoor community meeting with neighboring residents as part of the public and engagement process. The location for the site visit is to be determined depending on available public space and subject to applicable COVID-19 restrictions in place at that time. And finally, that council directs staff to report back to council with the findings of the open house and site visit.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. And that's moved by Councillor LeBlanc and seconded by Councillor Rowley. Is there any discussion? Councillor Bateman.
Just a quick comment to the planning staff. I love the way that you're approaching this, and I think this will go over well where you're engaging the public and being so open and transparent right off the hop.
Good comment. I like that too. Councillor Anderson.
We're probably not meant to dig into this too deeply. I just noticed one of the first items that popped in my face was that it was 5.8 acres. Did you see that? Word description, 5.8 acres. Am I reading that?
That is correct. Yes, that's
And it
correct.
shows up again in the, I know there were a couple of residents that got that too, and I got a couple of messages saying, how do you put all that housing into 5.8 acres?
That is correct. It is 5.8 acres. Staff will have to review the concept plans.
Okay,
At the open
so it
house.
might be just a small item when it comes to putting those houses on a map, but I want to say though is that it's all well and good. I'd like, there's three proposals here, or three recommendations or three suggestions. And I'm not going to comment on which one I like, but I certainly would like to see one that has more affordable housing and more, not just affordable housing, but I think it's referred to in here, 25% is expected to be affordable, subject to your income. I don't know what the proper wording. Sorry, I got a lot of paper here, but it's more to your, affordable to some people is not the same as other people. So it's based on your income or based on your, it's not geared to income, but it's subject to your, for lower incomes and moderate income. So those are the two words that I'm trying to come up with. So for lower income and for moderate income, that is targeting better for people's affordability than just saying affordability, or because what's good for me is might not be good for you. So if that message can be sort of sent to the developer and when we get down to it, I think they've started out well, good proposals, good suggestions. And I think the residents will be looking for exactly what I'm talking about there. Thank you.
Councillor Bateman.
I was just going to comment on the 5.8. There's 3 proposals there, so it depends on, the public consultation, because I think one of them, they go up instead of out. So depending on how it comes back, if you go with 2 5 stories, you're using a lot less land. So it all depends on what the public says and council decides.
None of those proposals had that. So
At the end of the day, we're just talking about a public consultation process today. And we will have an opportunity to make comment on whatever proposals come forward in the application when all is said and done. Councillor Tadman.
Thank you, Mayor. And I think that is a good reason why we shouldn't be discussing this tonight. We're here just to talk about the strategy moving forward. And I think yeah, sure, everybody's got their own idea of things, but this isn't the time to express that.
That time will come. You're right. Thank you for that. Any further questions or comments from members of council? Councillor LeBlanc.
I have a question. Tonight, as a council, when I first got here, we didn't have permitted employees in planning. Is this the first meeting that we have a full regiment of the planning department for the municipality? Because this is a beautiful document, and the documents that I've seen over the past couple of months have really come together and enlightened. So is this the first meeting that we've had a full complement of planning staff? I just want to say bravo to the planning department to get stuff like this going. And thank you.
Do you want to answer that question, Mr. Walsh?
Just that, yeah, we, Josh, manager approval, joined us in April, and so yeah, we're really gearing up, and we have Samantha joining us in towards the end of September, and Mr. Brent Barnes has been helping us with some of the policy things like our CIP information that council will see probably next agenda. So yeah, we feel like we're up and running now, and it's feeling pretty good that we're feeling how productive we are and how responsive we can be to the public and to council. So thank you for the comments.
Thank you both. Any further questions or comments from members of council? Those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Takes us to the deeming bylaw for 98 Sanford Street. Mr. Walsh, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight, sir?
Nothing further, Mayor.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. The report of the Planning and Development Department dated September 13th regarding 98 Sanford Street deeming bylaw be received, and that a bylaw be enacted to deem the following lands as designated to not be a registered plan of subdivision for the purposes of Section 50, subsection 3 of the Planning Act, Lot 1 on Plan 490, Municipality of Brighton, and that a waiver and undertaking stipulating the application agrees to waive notice and hearing shall be sent to the applicant, and upon receipt of its completion with signatures, the deeming bylaw be registered. And further, that council authorize the mayor and the municipal clerk to execute the acknowledgement and direction to register the deeming bylaw. Questions or comments from members of council? Councillor Tadman.
I don't know if you remember, Mayor, but I don't remember ever having this. So I kind of researched it a bit, and I totally understand why you need it. And basically, it's just to take it from the rest of the subdivision agreement, just this one particular lot. So I don't think we should have any problem with that. The owner wants to sign the papers, so.
Right. Any further questions or comments from council? Those in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion's carried. We have no unfinished business on the agenda this evening, which takes us to bylaws. First bylaw is the deeming bylaw, 98 Sanford Street, moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Council gives a bylaw, it's first, second, and third reading, and finally passes on this date, being a bylaw of the Corporation of the Municipality of Brighton to deem part of a registered plan not to be registered. Lot 1, Plan 490, 78 Sanford Street. Any further discussion? Those in favor? Any opposed? The motion is carried. Next bylaw is the closure of a portion of a road allowance, being Factory Street, moved by Councillor Tadman, seconded by Councillor Bateman. The council gives a bylaw, it's first, second, and third reading, and finally passes on this date, being a bylaw of the Corporation of the Municipality of Brighton to stop up, to close, and to sell to the abutting landowners or their respective nominees those lands and premises more particularly described in Schedule A, annexed here 2. Is there any discussion from members of council? Those in favor? Are there any opposed? Motion's carried. That takes us to question period. Madam Clerk, are you aware of anyone joining us for question period? Mr. Lambert? We have no in-camera session this evening, which brings us to a confirmatory bylaw, moved by Councillor Bateman, seconded by Councillor Anderson. The council gives a bylaw, its first, second, and third reading, and finally passes on this date, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Corporation of the Municipality of Brighton Council meeting held on September 13th, 2021. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion is carried. Before I read the adjournment motion, that's the second time I've had a coughing fit in council. Just let everyone know I do have a cough. I have been tested. I am COVID negative and I am double vaccinated. It is just a cough from what I can tell. Well, it could very well be, actually. Hard to say. I have a motion moved by Councillor Anderson. I've never had allergies before, so I'm denying that opportunity. I'm just going with a cough for now. I know that. I have a motion moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Bateman, that the September 13th, 2021 planning meeting adjourn at 7:26 p.m. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Any opposed? The motion is carried. Drive home safe, everyone, except you, Deputy